My name is Elena, and I'm 27 years old. There are moments in life that divide everything into before and after. For me, that moment came when I was 19 years old, sitting beside a hospital bed that smelled faintly of antiseptic and fading hope, holding my mother's hand as she fought a battle she was never meant to win. Stage 4 breast cancer. That was the phrase that quietly rearranged my entire world. She fought for 2 years. 2 long, relentless, unforgiving years. And I was there for all of it. People often talk about cancer like it's a disease. But they're wrong. It's a war. And wars don't just destroy the person fighting them, they take pieces of everyone standing nearby. I watched my mother lose her hair in small, heartbreaking strands at first, then in clumps that gathered on her pillow like something fragile falling apart. I remember the first time she looked at herself in the mirror after shaving her head completely. She smiled. Not because she was okay, but because she didn't want me to see that she wasn't. That was who she was. Strong in ways the world never applauds. Every chemotherapy session felt like a quiet surrender followed by a stubborn act of defiance. I sat beside her every time, holding her hand as poison entered her body in the hope of saving it. There were nights she couldn't sleep because the pain crawled through her bones like fire. Nights when she squeezed my fingers so tightly I thought they might snap, but I never pulled away. Because if she could endure that pain, I could endure holding it with her. My father was there in the beginning. At least physically. He sat in hospital chairs, nodded at doctors, brought flowers that slowly stopped being replaced. But somewhere along the way, somewhere between the second round of chemo and the endless cycle of bad news, he began to fade. It started with late nights. Then longer absences. Then excuses that didn't quite make sense. He smelled different when he came home. Not like hospital disinfectant or exhaustion. Something softer. Something unfamiliar. I didn't want to believe what my instincts were screaming at me. But truth has a way of forcing itself into your life when you're least prepared. I found out 6 months before my mother died. Her name was Vanessa. 34. Worked at his office. Confident. Polished. And completely comfortable stepping into the space of a dying woman's life. I expected anger. I expected confrontation. I expected something, anything. But my mother, she said nothing. Not once. Not a single accusation. Not a raised voice. Not even a question. One evening, I finally broke. I asked her why. Why she didn't fight him. Why she didn't demand answers. Why she allowed this betrayal to exist in the same space where she was fighting to stay alive. She looked at me, really looked at me, with tired eyes that had seen too much. And she said quietly, "I don't have the strength to fight 2 battles, Elena." That was it. No bitterness. No resentment. Just truth. She chose where to spend what little strength she had left. And she chose me. 3 weeks before she died, she asked me to sit with her in her bedroom. It was late afternoon. Sunlight filtered softly through the curtains, casting a warm glow that felt almost cruel in its normalcy. She reached for my hand. Her grip was weaker now, but still steady. "Elena," she said softly, "I've taken care of everything." I didn't understand. Not really. She told me to trust her lawyer. A man named Mr. Adrian Clark. "He's been with my family for years," she said. "He knows everything." Her voice trembled slightly as she added, "No matter what happens after I'm gone, you will be safe." I nodded through tears, not fully grasping what she meant. I just told her I loved her. Over and over again. As if saying it enough times could somehow anchor her here. She passed away on a Tuesday morning in October. The room was still. Too still. There's a kind of silence that follows death that feels unnatural, like the world itself is holding its breath. And in that silence, I realized something terrifying. I was alone. My father grieved. Or at least, he performed grief convincingly. At the funeral, he stood tall, accepted condolences, shed carefully timed tears. People praised his strength. I watched him. And I felt nothing. Because I had already seen the truth. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. 11 months later, Vanessa moved into the house. 8 months after that, They got married. A small ceremony. I was invited 3 days before. 3 days. I went anyway. Not for him. Not for her. But because my mother raised me to carry myself with dignity even when surrounded by people who had none. Vanessa smiled at me all day. Like we were friends. Like she hadn't slowly stepped into my mother's life before it was even over. I smiled back. Because I had learned from the best. The house changed. At first, subtly. Then completely. My mother's photographs disappeared. Her favorite curtains were replaced. Her garden, her pride, her peace, her escape was ripped out and replaced with cold stone tiles. It wasn't just redecorating. It was erasure. And I said nothing. Because grief doesn't always scream. Sometimes. It just watches. 2.5 years after my mother's death, my father called. He invited me to dinner. For a moment, I let myself believe something foolish. That maybe. Just maybe. He wanted to reconnect. I was wrong. We sat at the table. A table that no longer felt like home. And Vanessa spoke. Calmly. Confidently. Like someone who had already decided the outcome. It's time you gave us the inheritance your mother left you. Just like that. No hesitation. No shame. She called it selfish that I hadn't already handed it over. $400,000. That's what my mother had left me. And according to Vanessa, it belonged to the family. I looked at my father, hoping, just once, he would choose me. He didn't. He folded his hands and said, Vanessa is your family now. Your mother would want you to support us. Something inside me went cold. Not broken. Not shattered. Just, still. The next morning, I called Mr. Clark. I told him everything. He listened quietly, then said something that changed everything. Your mother expected this. His office felt unchanged. Like time hadn't touched it. He handed me an envelope. My name written in my mother's handwriting. I hadn't seen it in years. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a letter. 4 pages. Carefully written. She explained everything. The money wasn't just an inheritance. It was protected. A trust. In my name only. Untouchable by anyone else. No pressure. No manipulation. No forced decisions. She had thought of everything. Even added a delay period for large withdrawals, just in case someone tried to pressure me. Even from the past. She was protecting me. But the legal details weren't what broke me. It was the last page. She didn't talk about money. She talked about me. About who I was. Who I had always been. She remembered things I thought she had forgotten. Small things. Important things. She wrote, You have always taken care of everyone else before yourself. I need you to stop. And then, build a life that belongs to you. I cried. Not quietly. Not controlled. But completely. For the first time since she died. That evening, I went back to the house. Not to argue. Not to explain. Just to deliver the truth. I handed them the documents. Watched my father read them. Watched realization settle into his face. For the first time in my life. He cried. Real tears. Not for show. Not for others. But I didn't stay. I didn't comfort him. I didn't say a word. I just walked away. I never went back. The money stayed where it belonged. I finished my degree. I booked a trip to Italy, somewhere my mother had always dreamed of going. And for the first time in years, I started living. She didn't just leave me money. She left me protection. She left me strength. She left me proof that even when she was dying, she was still fighting for me.